The Dance of the Dragons wiped out thousands of lives and nearly destroyed House Targaryen. But the entire Civil War could have been prevented in the very first episode. Viserys just needed to do 3 things: make Daemon his hand, let him marry Rhaenyra, and look the other way when Otto Hightower inevitably had a fatal accident.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I've been rewatching House of the Dragon in preparation for the new season coming out, and today I want to talk about the political mess of early King's Landing and why Daemon actually had the optimal solution to the succession crisis years before it happened.
If you look at the mechanics of Westerosi society, it is incredibly inefficient. The lords on the small council constantly hide their own greed behind the excuse of tradition. Daemon is the only one at that table who is brutally honest about what's actually happening. Viserys is a nice guy, but he is a terrible manager. For all his obsession with old Valyria and dragon dreams, in practice, he basically lets the faith of the Seven walk all over him. A lot of this comes down to Otto Hightower. As a Hightower, Otto has deep ties to the Citadel and the faith in Old Town. He uses that influence to push Viserys away from Targaryen traditions and isolate him from his own family. We don't see the initial events that caused the break between Viserys, Daemon, and Otto, but the result is obvious. Viserys is completely unable to understand Daemon's underlying loyalty to him. On the flip side, Daemon refuses to open up emotionally. He armors himself with dark jokes and cruelty instead of communicating. This massive gap gives Otto the perfect space to gain way too much influence. This brings us to the Heir for a Day incident. Daemon's baby nephew dies, and Daemon goes to a brothel. Was he actually celebrating? Probably not. He was coping with grief in his usual toxic, self-destructive way. Otto takes that moment and weaponizes it to get Daemon exiled. I actually think Otto heavily misrepresented what happened that night to manipulate the king, but I'll dive into my theory on that whole situation in another video. What Viserys should have done, instead of exiling his brother, was marry him to Rhaenyra right then and there. Yes, Daemon was already married to Rhea Royce in the Vale, but kings have dissolved marriages before, especially unconsummated political ones. I even think Viserys might have actually considered this route if Otto hadn't used the brothel comment to force the exile. Marrying Daemon and Rhaenyra wouldn't be unprecedented at all. Aegon the Conqueror married his sisters. Viserys' own grandparents, Jaehaerys and Alysanne, were brother and sister. Consolidating the bloodline was standard operating procedure for their family. By marrying them early on, Viserys would have immediately consolidated his power base. You pair the named heir with the most dangerous rogue in the kingdom. You get Daemon's loyalty directed entirely at protecting Rhaenyra's claim. There are no greens. There is no dance. And realistically, Daemon would have quietly removed Otto from the equation before any real opposition could form. It's probably clear by now that I think the Blacks were in the right, and I like the characters on Rhaenyra's side. But I'll be the first to admit they make plenty of silly mistakes all throughout the story. Still, if you look at the root cause, a little bit of pragmatism and ignoring societal rules early on would have saved everyone. I've been having a hard time on my rewatch, seeing all this indecision and Rhaenyra's attempts to hold on to a fragile, broken childhood friendship set her up for failure. Now, I haven't read Fire and Blood, so I'm basing this purely on the show's lore and character dynamics. If there's something from the books that proves me wrong or adds context to the Otto and Daemon rivalry, jump into the comments and let me know. If you'd like to join me as I rant about more of the Game of Thrones universe, there are buttons you can press, and you'd be awesome for doing so. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.